success. It wants to keep you all down. It wants to keep you under the thumb and dependent on them and at their mercy. So yeah, when it comes to name recognition, I think I've got that. I've definitely got the name recognition. And you know, when it comes to facts, I know Chad, I appreciate the facts and all that. But you know, it's important. I do agree, law and order is a very important thing. We need to have that. You know, it's important too that we have our crimes getting solved as well. And unfortunately, over 90% of the crimes in your county go unsolved, which is the lowest in the state. So anyways, I wanted to clear the air with that. But I'm more than just the chicken guy. I've got a lot of other things going on too. I am very heavily involved in two phenomenal businesses that are homegrown here in California. And I've respectfully taken each of them up from one from 10 to $100 million valuation and another from 50 to $500 million valuation. And I continue to work at that also as I'm running for governor here in California. So I've got a lot of things on my plate. And when I do have my free time, and I make sure I carve out plenty of it for my grandmother. She's 91, she is my everything. She is the woman that helped guide me and carve me into the man that I have become today. The opportunities that I was given because of her are phenomenal. I was allowed to shadow her in the California Poultry Federation from a young age, go to DC and Sacramento, and meet all of the fantastic people that are running this country into the ground. The people that care so little about all of you and your well-being and your families really love being wined and dined. Learn that right away. They don't care other than just getting nice wine. It's a shame because I've spent my entire life in California. In fact, I'm a fourth generation Californian. My family's been in Los Angeles for 120 years. We were in business for 90 until California crushed us. And along with that destruction of our business went 4,000 jobs. 4,000 hardworking Californians lost their jobs because California priced us out of the ability to function here. Overregulation, high taxes, minimum wage, utility price hikes, you name it. It's everything combined to keep business out. Look what's happened. Chevron, after 140 years, pulled out of California, taking $1 billion loss on the way out. In-N-Out Burger is now relocated to Nashville, Tennessee. Oracle left, Tesla left. Even Steven Spielberg is now the latest to flee California. How many of you in here have thought about leaving California? Or know somebody that has left?
I know someone who has. I'm the last one.
That's a problem.
Yep.
I grew up with this place being the place everybody wanted to come here. Oh my God, you're from California? Oh my God, it's amazing. What's it like? Oh my God, Disneyland, the beach. And I can't really go to the beach anymore, so I'm full of toxic waste courtesy of the fires that we've had due to mismanagement. And that's always been the problem. It's mismanagement. They know what they're doing. They're purposely destroying the state. And it's all about power. That's why our voting integrity laws are so ridiculous. I was up in Shasta County a few weeks ago at the ROV up there, Clinton. And he told me that for $300,000 they can secure elections in California. And he's used every loophole that they have left open for him, but they're damn good at closing them on him. Because it's about who counts the vote, right? That's why we need 36 days to tabulate the vote with unsolicited mail-in ballots, which is why we're going to put a stop to that. We're going to make sure that California voters get it done in one day. Get it counted that night with records to account for every single thing. We need to make sure that our elections boards are doing their job. We need people to be registering and being checked properly. If you're 100 years old, you should probably do a wellness check to see if you're still alive. There's a lot of simple things we can do, and that's something I've learned in business. As a farmer, the simplest solution is most often the best solution. I would dumpster dive to figure out what the root cause of the problem was with our green bars. I'd get our green bars every week. I'd take a look at the green bars and I'd see discrepancies in why our cost here is up. And then I would go dive in the dumpster out back of the plant and figure out Why is there all this styrofoam in here? Why is there all this packaging material? Why don't we have this part? But the correct approach is about fixing the root problem, and all we do is band-aid the issues. We never actually solve the problems, right? Because it's so easy to just slap a band-aid on and say we'll deal with it later and kick the can down the road. No, we're kicking the can down the road. It's destroyed the state. It's destroyed opportunity, and I won't let it happen anymore. I got into this race for a lot of reasons. California wiped out my family's business and everything I spent my life around and working hard for. I started at the bottom. A lot of people might not think that. Yeah, I got the job because of my last name, but I started out at the bottom as a sales service rep. I went to every single supermarket in the Southern California area to make sure I inspected product, to do the job, and I did that for years. And then I wanted more. So they offered me cold calling. Not a lot of fun either. But I did it. And I still wanted to have more. So I worked and worked. They gave me the opportunity. They said, all right, fine, get out of here and go do it. So I did it. I worked in the slaughterhouse. I worked in the processing plant. I worked on the ranches, the cook facility. I did sanitation. I did all these jobs working shoulder to shoulder with the hardest working Californians I know. It is not easy work, but it's an honest living. And people need to have the ability to keep their money that they earn. They need to have the opportunity to get employment. We have to provide an environment that allows that to take place. Overregulation is killing the state. We all know what the problems are, but it's how we go about fixing it. It's so easy to make promises about what the governor's office can do. The reality is there are limitations. So if we are going to make the change when elected, we have to build the bridges. This is why I'm building the concept of Team California out. Team California means we all know what's wrong with this place. What are we going to do to make it better for everybody? This isn't about left or right anymore. This isn't Republican, Democrat, Independent. These problems impact every single Californian. I'm in this race because I've experienced it firsthand. I'm what you call a prime example of poor California legislative decisions. You know people that have left, or I know people that have left, and I'm not having this anymore. We need to get this under control by having people work together, focusing on the issues that impact all of us, the things that matter. We have a big problem with Sacramento doing what they want to do for the feel-good. It's all about the feelings, right? Emotions first. We have to look at this from a logical perspective and drive that home, that this isn't a fight between people and ideas. This is about the ability to actually survive and thrive in the state. No more scraping by month to month, barely being able to make rent and afford food and afford gas, while they drive farmers out of business and oil industry out of California and job opportunities away. We can do this, but we have to work together. Democrats are not our enemy. Their ideas don't necessarily work right. We know that. But we have to build a bridge, and we can't fight and hate on Democrats constantly. We can hate their ideas, but we can't ignore the issue that we have to solve together. That's what Team California is going to do. I'm going to work with the legislature and build real personal relationships with every single member of the legislative body so I can understand what makes them tick. Anybody here in sales? You've been in sales. You got to understand your customer. You got to understand what it is to help make that sale. If I'm going to sell them on fixing California, I have to build that relationship, and not from a party standpoint. That is going to be the bridge builder. That is going to be the difference maker. We know that the farmers are not getting the water. I've been one of them. I've driven up the 99 countless times, seeing uprooted trees and dry barren farms because they're not getting the water. The state gets over a trillion gallons a year that we just dump into the sea for the smelt. The little smelt fish that nobody can find, that nobody cares about. Well, except the environmentalists. So what we can do is build out our infrastructure. And we have to show, we're going to have to get the funding to do this too, right? Because the state's pretty much broke. Having a plan, a sound business plan in place, which I've developed, I can go to the federal government and request these funds to help kickstart this program into effect. Showing them how, by using the funds to help kickstart the project, we can build the infrastructure, harness the water, dams, new dams, upgrading the infrastructure, building new reservoirs, harnessing the snowpack, utilizing desalination, hydroelectricity, small modular nuclear reactors, showing how we can bring the costs down by creating a new resource driver for the state of California. We can create the water abundance here that we can then auction off to our neighbors for profit. We get the lion's share of the Colorado watershed. And it's still somehow not enough because we dump the water. If we can create these new reservoirs and dams, we can then utilize that, have a sufficient amount of water for everybody, and then auction off the extra to bring in an additional revenue stream for the state. Anything you want to do in business, which I've learned from experience, is that you have to have a way to pay for the ideas and the visions that you want. It's great to do things, but if it doesn't pay for itself, it doesn't work. It doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. We'll be able to get these projects done by utilizing public works programs and by empowering our homeless population through my Homeless to Home program to get back to work. Just like in the 1930s, when we had the Great Depression, we built massive structures like the Hoover Dam. We can do that again today. We have an untapped populace of down and out, drug addicted, mentally ill people that need real help, real support, and real structure. We can provide that by getting them off the streets, by enforcing our vacancy laws for a change. By getting them, by providing the help they need, giving them housing, small modular tiny homes, not $600,000 penthouses in downtown LA, but small modular tiny homes that I found a fantastic company that makes them for $2,000 a unit. We can pay it off at $75 a month over 27 months, and you do that by getting them to work. You deduct from their pay what they've earned, so they go and they do you get 10,000 people to shovel, they can dig a pretty big hole pretty quickly, right? And they can also pour concrete. Voila, you build a reservoir. Rinse and repeat. So you give a minimum wage, you deduct the $75 a month, that covers their housing costs. You deduct their medical care, the food, all those necessities, doesn't put them into debt, and that money goes into a bank account that they can't touch until they complete the program. When they're clean and sober, when they've got their mental health under control, they've got a job skill, we've helped rebuild their self-esteem. They're eligible for government-assisted housing, and anybody hiring them coming out of the program gets a tax incentive for doing so. This is how we end homelessness in California. This is how we set the example, by giving people the tools they need to be successful. And it also functions as a safety net for any Californian who wants to enroll in this program. You don't have to be homeless on the street. You can willingly enroll into this program. Let's say you lose your job, you can't make rent. Come and join the Homeless to Home program. We'll get you doing basic construction. We'll have you doing sanitation, cleaning up our public spaces, our roadways, places like the Wharf in San Francisco or Hollywood Boulevard, cleaning this state, beautifying it, but working with agriculture, giving them the real skills that California jobs need to have by talented individuals. Raising crops that we can then sell to bring in an additional revenue stream to the state of California. And also having them do wildfire management and forest management by doing underbrush clearing, bringing logging in, eradicating the invasive bark beetle, which will save us billions of dollars on our balance sheet that will help offset these expenses. It all is built in, and it takes someone with business experience and know-how to achieve these goals and to set these parameters and meet them. I know I look young. I'm a bit young, it's okay. I'm happy to be that way, it's okay. I'll be 35 this year, in case you're wondering. But, just to give you guys an idea of what's going on in the political world, our vice president was selected to be the vice president at age 39. My friend Cannon Bergman was elected mayor of Lodi at 24. And unfortunately, Zoran Mamdani is now the mayor of New York. And he's 3 months younger than me. So I think it's important that we address this up-and-coming generation, which I'm proud to be a part of. The youth in this country, especially here in California, do not feel like they have a shot in hell at home ownership. They don't believe that there's a future or an opportunity for them here. They leave. They don't start families because they can't afford to live here. There's some important facts you need to know as well. This year, the youngest millennial turns 30 years old. 75% of Gen Z is eligible to vote in this election.
They don't vote.
We're here, folks, and it's time we start paying attention to them. Because they are the future of the Republican Party. The question is, will you be able to capture their vote? We have to be able to appeal to the youth, we have to galvanize them to vote, and we have to be approachable to the moderate left. It's that simple.
There's no
If
such
every
thing.
single Republican voted for either of us in the state, we'd still lose. We need to win the moderate left. We need to galvanize the youth. We need to show them that there is opportunity waiting for them, that they are being given a chance. There's a lot of young people that are running for office that are here tonight, so I'm very grateful to see young faces getting involved in politics. But I've learned a lot. And I've learned a lot from all the older generation. You guys built this party. You guys built this state. And we've been fighting back to get our voices heard. It's time that we get this going with the kids. We're going to help motivate them by showing them affordability through job creation, by streamlining the process it takes to create here in California. This is the place everybody wants to create. You know how hard it is to get a liquor license? I've gone through that process. It's a pain, and it's very expensive.
Ridiculous.
$250,000 to $300,000 if you're trying to get a liquor license.
That's insane.
That's cost prohibitive. You want to start a restaurant? Okay, you got to go rent the space, pay the rent for months while you go through the approval process. That could take 3 to 6 months, all the while you're shoveling out money to do that. By the time you open your doors and hire people, you got maybe 3 to 6 months left before you're tapped out on your 1 year budget, and then you're out of business. I've been in the restaurant business. My family and I had a restaurant for 11 years. It's very difficult, but the harder California makes it, the more impossible it becomes. We need to streamline our state website. We need to streamline the permitting process. We can do that using AI. Not the dangerous AI, the smart AI, like a Grok or some sort of chat GPT, something you can interact with like that. Where you go to the state website and you say, I want to build a pool, I want to start a restaurant, I want to build an addition to my house, whatever. It will show you the permits you need to apply for, walk you through the process. You can submit it online, get approved instantly, and you can cut all the bureaucratic red tape and waste out of the equation. Innovative ideas for the future are what are going to bring this state back in a very meaningful way in a very short amount of time. You know, I mentioned my grandmother before, and I wanted to bring it up again because it's a lot to take on a task like this. It's not easy. People come after you, they say all sorts of things, but I learned from my grandmother that you got to stand strong, you got to stand for what you believe in, and you have to speak your mind. She was almost aborted by her mother back in the 1930s, and if that had happened, I wouldn't be here today. So when people ask me about my stance on that, yeah, you better believe I'm pro-life. And that's where I stand. But it can't be the hill we die on as Republicans, because the left will use every tool that we give them to fight back. I wanted to let you know where I stand on it, but it can't be the hill we die on. There's a lot of things that are more important, like making sure that Californian families feel safe, that they can get a job, that their kids are getting an education. School choice is paramount. We must have school choice here in California. Competition breeds excellence. It is the only way forward. And by having shop class and home ec introduced to kids in elementary, middle, and high school, they will see another way of creating success for themselves in the state of California. And more importantly, we're going to create a UC Technical Institute, where it's all focused on technical trades like plumbing, electricians, carpentry, so on, auto repair, all that. If you can teach the kids in California, give them scholarships and grants to schools in California, the chances of them staying and creating businesses and being employed in California go up exponentially. We have ag schools, we need real state-sponsored trade schools. That's what I'm going to bring to you as Governor of California.